Hello folks, and welcome to the Tiny Kitchen. We're pretty sure this is the smallest space to ever be featured in a cooking show. This room is so small that a cutting board on the kitchen sink doubles as counter space. Did you check our quiz on the Facebook page this week? What is excellent for you, fantastic for the environment, great for animals, but sent 3 Wisconsin farmers to prison? And the answer is grass-fed pork. It's an issue you need to make yourself aware of because it's growing in this country where big food is putting the squeeze on small farmers. But we're using grass-fed pork today, and we want to celebrate it by doing pork on baked kale. And if you don't think you like kale, it's because you haven't had it properly baked. Let's introduce the ingredients to today's dish. The center of it all is going to be grass-fed pork loin chops. We're going to season that with the Tiny Kitchen Baja seasoning blend. We'll talk more about that later. Underneath it will be a bed consisting of 2 bunches of kale, seasoned with Tiny Kitchen broccoli chip mix, 2 apples, balsamic white vinegar, lemon juice spritzer, ground cinnamon, truvia, and for equipment, we're going to need a cast iron skillet and the bottom of your oven's broiler pan. So the first thing we're going to do is preheat our oven to 400 degrees and start our skillet on medium. And then we're going to go ahead and season our pork and get it ready to brown. Let's go ahead and season our pork with the Baja blend from Tiny Kitchen. This is a most wonderful blend for marrying pork, or even fish for that matter, to greens, which is what healthy eating is all about. The seasoning is wonderful. This is going to cook up so nice. Let's go ahead and start these browning. Now, we've talked before about oil in a skillet, and you'll notice I didn't put any in here at all. In a well-seasoned skillet, it's completely unnecessary. You can hear the sizzle coming on right now. We want to let this go just until it starts to loosen up. You'll notice when you first put meat in, it sticks to your skillet. That's not a problem with the seasoning on the skillet, that's just the nature of the meat. Let it go until it just starts to free up on the edges, like you see it doing right now. See how the edge is starting to come up already? At that point, we're going to put in just a few splashes of white balsamic vinegar, and that's going to go and boil underneath and free up the rest of our meat while we continue to brown. When I flip the meat, you're going to notice how it's starting to get a nice brown color on the bottom, and you might wonder why we do this since we're going to bake it later anyway. And the reason is simple. When you bake pork, it turns a lifeless kind of gray color. By browning it now and getting the brown on the meat, when we bake it, your finished dish is going to be beautiful. And you remember how we talked about presentation? The better it looks, the better it tastes. So taking this step right now will both make us very, very appetizing on the finished dish, but it's also going to provide us the meaty base for the sauce that we're going to prepare here in a few minutes. Alright, when you flip it over, you'll see the beautiful brown color on the bottom, which is exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and pull the pork out of the skillet, and you're going to see right away the meat that's sticking in the bottom of the skillet and the spice. We actually want that for a sauce we're going to put on later. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put about a half cup of the white balsamic vinegar in the pan. Now this is called deglazing. What sticks to the bottom is called the glaze. When we put the white vinegar in and stir it around just a little bit, you can see on the bottom of the skillet all of that stuff that's stuck came right up immediately. That's called deglazing, and it provides a beautiful, beautiful flavor to the sauce that we're going to create right now. So we're going to put our apples into this sauce and get them to where the flesh side is down. A few spritzes of the lemon juice. Swirl that around just a little bit. Now, we want to let it go until we have a good boil on the white balsamic vinegar. What we're making right now is called a reduction sauce. There's 2 ways to thicken a sauce. One is by adding starches. When you add starches like cornstarch or a little bit of flour, You can thicken up your sauce for sure, but at the same time you thicken up your sauce, you're also adding a ton of calories and elements to your sauce that really aren't good for you. You can do the same thing by reducing your sauce, which is simply boiling off the excess liquid until our sauce starts to get a little bit thick. So as soon as we get a nice boil going on that vinegar, which we almost have, we can go ahead and add the cinnamon, just a little bit. I hate it when my ingredients run away. And just a little bit of the stevia. Don't put the stevia in too early. Put it in right before you reduce the temperature. If you put it in too easily, you'll start to lose the flavor of the stevia. It'll break down in the hot liquid. Let's go ahead and stir that around just a little bit. And you want the temperature set to where it's just barely bubbling. Alright, most of our kale is already prepared. We're going to just rip the last of it. Now you notice we're not worried about cutting out the stems. We just tear them out. Grab a hunk of the kale. The stem will take care of itself. And make a nice big bed. Now it's going to look like our pan is overflowing here. Don't worry, this stuff bakes down to almost nothing. Now when we have our bed of kale, we want to first spritz it with lemon juice. When you have a nice even layer, then we're going to sprinkle it, and do this generously, with the Tiny Kitchen broccoli chip seasoning. This seasoning works so good on broccoli and greens both, you won't be able to stop eating these, seriously. This is made with salt, garlic, dried celery, not celery seeds. And we use an Alaskan Alea sea salt. Finish it with dill, and that's broccoli chip seasoning. Now we're going to go ahead and place our pork right on top of this, and we'll take it to the oven where we'll bake it for 20 minutes at 400 degrees. Now let's go back to our sauce. You can see how it's already starting to get a little bit thick and syrupy. See that? We want to turn the temperature on down to low now. It'll stop bubbling. We have the consistency we want. Now what we want is for the apples to get soft, and in your finished dish, this is going to be like a really nice baked apple. So turn them over to the other sides, and we'll let that keep going on low for a little bit. For today's tiny tip, I want to talk about seasoning cast iron pans. You may notice already we use a lot of cast iron here in the Tiny Kitchen. And the reason is, properly seasoned and maintained, it's the best non-stick surface you can buy. It doesn't cost a lot, and it'll give you a lifetime of service at a nominal cost. It's very easy to do. When you purchase a new cast iron pan, you'll notice it has a very dull finish. Occasionally you'll see a pan that claims to be pre-seasoned and it's a little bit shiny. Don't you trust it. Come home with steel wool, scour the pan until you get down to the base metal, and you're back to the dull finish that you see here. Once you do, heat the pan up until it's very, very, very hot. Be very, very careful when you do this. You're going to want to take just a teaspoon of a high heat oil. You can use a high heat coconut oil, a high heat peanut oil, or, in the case of Tiny Kitchen, a rendered animal fat, in this case rendered pig fat or lard. Let it roll around the bottom of your pan and get it up on the sides too. You'll rub the oil around the bottom and push a little bit hard. What you're going to notice when you do this is when you pull the napkin out, you're going to have a brown or a black stain on it. We're going to want to do this until that brown or that black stain disappears and our rag comes back clean. Make sure you rub the oil clear up the sides, and then go ahead and let it heat up until it begins smoking again. So Having done it once and come back black, let's go ahead and add another teaspoon of the oil. Again, roll it around the bottom of your pan. And with your paper towel, rub it up the sides and rub all of the excess out. And you can see now your paper towel is already cleaner than before. So you're going to keep up this process until your paper towel comes back with nothing left but the color of your oil. And when that happens, your pan will be completely seasoned. Maintaining your pan is very, very simple. All you do is each time you cook, heat your pan up again after you're done cooking, and with a very small amount of oil, put in the bottom, rub it with a paper towel. When your pan cools down, rub out all of the excess. Now when you cook, you'll never need to add oil for cooking. Your pan will always give you a lifetime non-stick surface. Tiny tips, folks. Big results. All right, let's see what we have. Ooh, that is gonna be delicious. All right, you might want to adjust the times with your oven. It looks like we got a little bit burnt, but we'll take our greens right out of the middle here. Let's go ahead and arrange on the plate. Do you hear how crispy those are already? That crispiness is what makes baked kale so amazing. It's just like eating chips. And with the broccoli chip seasoning on there, holy cow, this is going to be good. All right, let's drop that chop on. Now comes the magic. Let's put a couple of our baked apples around the side and drizzle some of this delicious sauce over the top. I wish you guys could smell what I smell right now. There you go, baked kale and pork. So what is very good for you, good for the environment, great for animals, but sent 3 Wisconsin farmers to prison? Grass-fed pork. We hope this episode has raised your awareness of a growing concern in America with real food being taken away from our citizenry and replaced with processed and fast foods. Even more than that, we really hope you enjoy the baked pork and kale dish, and if you're hungry now, you can find the full recipe only at fatfreewithme.com. Thank you so much for watching, folks. If you've enjoyed your time with us, please take a moment to subscribe to this Tiny Kitchen YouTube channel. While you're at it, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/FFWMTinyKitchen. And heck, while you're there, post us your photos when you cook this dish. If you're interested in the Fat Free With Me weight loss program, please visit fatfreewithme.com for more information. And to find out more about Tiny Kitchen spice blends, please email us at customercare@fatfreewithme.com for information. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next week.